Hello, I'm Specialist Noelle Williams, and here's a quick look at what's coming up in this episode of Army Reserve Today. Hurricane Harvey, how Army Reserve soldiers jumped in to help those affected by the storms. Operation Cold Steel, Army Reserve soldiers trained to become the most capable, combat-ready, and lethal Federal Reserve Force in our nation's history. Global Medic, a joint exercise bringing soldiers together from all over the world to perfect techniques. Honoring Our Heroes, a training exercise where soldiers take great pride in how the fallen are honored. All these stories and more ahead on this edition of Army Reserve Today. Hello, and welcome to Army Reserve Today. I'm Specialist Noelle Williams, and thanks for joining us. We begin with our top story. Last year, various parts of our country saw devastation from hurricanes. The Army Reserve continues to provide aid and support to areas affected by Hurricane Harvey. Sergeant Nicholas De La Pena from the 205th Press Camp headquarters explains how soldiers quickly responded to provide approximately 50 tons of palletized water to families in Texas.
So our mission today was to be able to come over and to organize water and other elements to be able to put on the Chinooks today so they could go forward and deliver them to the areas that needed them. Well, here at the FBO, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to work with our civilian counterparts and actually be able to push forward product and work as a cohesive team to support the local area.
Oh, it means the world. The Army Reserve showed up to help the citizens and help the community out, and they're really doing good. And because of the Army Reserve, they got it, and they got it quick, and they got it fast.
I just want to say that if it weren't for the soldiers and the NCOs that are out here pumping and making it happen today, we wouldn't be successful, and we wouldn't be successful as an echo company to be able to support the flight companies and work that team effort together. I have nothing but pride and admiration for my people, and I think they're the ones that are truly the rock stars here today.
Many Army Reserve soldiers mobilized to help local communities after Hurricane Harvey. Even soldiers who saw damages to their personal properties still volunteered to put on the uniform and serve their community. Corporal Timothy Yao with the U.S. Army Reserve Command has more.
Oh my God, there's smoke going on the wall already. I kept saying, I'm homeless, but they're like, you're not homeless because at least you have a place to sleep.
Army Reserve soldier, Specialist Paula Hernandez, is one of many soldiers working rescue operations for Hurricane Harvey, who also sustained damages to her home.
We gotta be strong for them because they're at their weak point right now, and we got to be there to help them out. I mean, that's what we do.
Fellow soldiers lent a helping hand in between missions to help her move her belongings to the curb.
And even though this is not my home, it still kind of hurts me because I was part of it at the same time when I was taking people out and taking them to safety.
The Army Reserve is continuing their support for the local community by mobilizing more soldiers. Corporal Timothy Yao, Houston, Texas.
The efforts of Army Reserve soldiers during Harvey relief operations did not go unnoticed. Sergeant Nicholas De La Pena has more on the support they received from Congressional Affairs.
In a show of support and solidarity, Representative Kevin Brady for Texas's 8th Congressional District met with the soldiers of the 7th Battalion, 158th Aviation Regiment.
Here we have remarkable volunteers in the community, great local elected officials who are all in on this, but then you got this incredible United States Army Reserve who are busting their butts, 12, 14 hours a day, will be here as long as it takes to help us. It really is. This is so inspiring. We're just here to say thank you and great mission.
Major Adam Stanley, U.S. Army Reserve Aviation Task Force Commander, provided a walkthrough and shared an update during a press conference held at the Conroe North Houston Regional Airport.
We have moved at this time over 300,000 pounds of water. It'll be over 500,000 pounds by the time the operation is complete. And it is because of the service of the soldiers and the volunteers that are here. The Army Reservists, our active component, and Texas National Guard, brothers and sisters, that we were able to accomplish what we were able to accomplish.
Reporting for the U.S. Army Reserve Command,
It's something to witness. It really is.
I'm Army Sergeant Nick De La Pena.
Stay with us. Army Reserve Today will be right back.
What's a couple of shots I thought? None of us wanted to be the designated driver. So I thought I would just have a couple of drinks. No big deal. But it was a big deal. I drove off the road, hit a tree head on. I was in combat with these guys. Now they're dead, and I'm alive. And I have to live with that for the rest of my life.
My husband says I went a little overboard. Emergency flares, shovel, windshield scraper, toolkit, booster cables, blankets, first aid kit, and waterproof matches.
She packed everything but the kitchen sink.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
It's important to winterize your home. Have your heating system serviced professionally to make sure it's clean, working properly, and ventilated to the outside. Keep a safe, alternative heating source, such as a space heater or wooden stove. Have your fireplace and chimney inspected and clean. Install smoke and carbon monoxide detectors and test the batteries regularly. House safety. Are you ready or not?
Check out the genius not wearing your seatbelt. Yeah, that's me. Maybe car seats, youth restraints. Seatbelts have been a part of my entire life. But I didn't plan on being in a 5-car pileup. The last thing that went through my mind after I flew through the windshield was a tree I hit.
Welcome back. Operation Cold Steel 2 recently kicked off at Fort Hunter Liggett, California, with the goal of training Army Reserve soldiers on crew-served weapon systems. Sergeant Jessica Forrester has more on how soldiers are training to become capable, combat-ready, and lethal.
Army Reserve soldiers rallied at Fort Hunter Liggett, California to earn their title of the most capable, combat-ready, lethal Federal Reserve force in our nation's history. Operation Cold Steel 2 is a crew-served weapons training exercise aimed at preparing America's Army Reserve soldiers for deployments as part of Ready Force X. Major Todd Spanton, the OCS-2 Task Force Coyote Executive Officer, explains the goals for this exercise.
Operation Cold Steel's purpose is to train our reserve soldiers on the M240 Bravo, M249, the Mark 19, and the M2 machine guns. The soldiers are actually able to get the hands-on experience and really become proficient with the weapon systems that are required to keep them and our allies safe when deployed overseas.
Specialist Jeremy Hicks, a wheeled vehicle mechanic with the 842nd Quartermaster Company, reflected on the benefits of this exercise.
Professionally now I feel a lot better that I can serve the United States Army Reserve as a more functional person, because that allowed me to get hands-on experience with a weapon system that I've honestly had no experience with.
Reserve units deploy globally each year in support of the United States missions abroad. Ensuring units are well-versed on these weapon systems is essential to the success of those missions.
It's imperative for the survivability of our units when we deploy overseas that we're able to functionally use these weapon systems to protect ourselves and that of our allies. So definitely imperative training to maintain our readiness and be ready to employ, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America.
From Fort Hunter Liggett, California, I'm Sergeant Jessica Forrester.
It's not every day that your job requires you to go to Disneyland, but for a few Army Reserve bands, they did just that. Corporal Timothy Yao with the U.S. Army Reserve Command shows us how Army Reserve bands are bringing music and entertainment to a variety of locations.
A different kind of music echoed through the Disneyland parks as Army Reserve bands kicked off their annual training.
When someone hears music, barriers just tend to come down, and that's why it's such a great community relations tool for the Army. When we go out and we perform music, they are less intimidated to come up and speak to us and to ask questions and to learn more about what the Army is doing around the world.
Small ensemble performances included soldiers from the 300th, 191st, and 395th Army bands.
Not only are we trying to engage the community around us, we are a part of the community that we are trying to engage. Typically, the same people that we're playing for are the people that we'll run across on a day-to-day basis.
Probably my favorite part about being in the Army Band is when the veterans are actually recognized while we play, because at that point we're creating an applause and recognition for someone other than ourselves, even though we are the ones on stage.
The Army Reserve Band career route is not something that a lot of people are familiar with, so we are constantly looking for new musicians. This is a great fit for that type of individual who wants to use their talents to serve their country, and that's what we're all about.
These Army Reserve bands will continue their summer national tour with stops in Texas, Arizona, and Hawaii. Army Corporal Timothy Yao, Anaheim, California.
Global Medic 2017 brings U.S. Army Reserve soldiers together with other services from all around the world for the largest Army Reserve medical training exercise. Staff Sergeant Brian Raley with the 343rd Mobile Public Affairs Detachment reports.
Service members from all over the world are currently gathered on Fort McCoy, Wisconsin to participate in Global Medic, a joint and multinational Army Reserve medical training exercise. Training in a high-energy, multinational environment builds readiness and confidence in working with partner countries.
It's a good experience, especially talking to them and listening to their experiences and what they do in their military, and we know from this experience that it definitely can happen. Like, if we have to work with them, we can, and it can be effective, because it is effective here.
Also adding to the effectiveness of America's Army Reserve and this training exercise are the unique skill sets Army Reserve soldiers bring to the mission.
We have people here that used to work in freight yards. We have other people like me that are experienced driving bigger vehicles. And then especially our docs. Like, a lot of our docs here are civilian doctors. It all benefits our mission here, it seems.
By involving partner countries and executing real-world scenarios, this training aims to pave the way on the road to awesome for America's Army Reserve. From Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, I'm Army Reserve Staff Sergeant Brian Raley.
As part of innovative readiness training, Army Reserve soldiers from various medical units came together to provide medical and dental services to 2 Indian reservations. Sergeant First Class Kenneth Scott reports on how this mission prepares service members while providing medical needs to a local tribal population in Montana.
I didn't even know we did it. As a United States Army, I didn't know we did that kind of mission. And I was like, well, let's do it. You know, I just said, let me at it. So I was like, hey, I think we'll do great things up there. I heard about the need, and I just knew that we could probably do a lot of work in that short period of time. So,
Staff Sergeant Joshua Martinez, the non-commissioned officer in charge of his medical team's annual training event, was preparing to support a mission that only a handful of Army Reserve medical units get the opportunity to participate in each year. This special mission is part of the Department of Defense's Innovative Readiness Training. The 7234th Medical Support Unit from Vallejo, California, and the 24th Medical Detachment, an active duty unit from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, were given the opportunity to visit Montana's remote areas of Harlem and Hayes on Fort Belknap Reservation to work in partnership with Fort Belknap Indian Health Service to provide medical support to the local community. Fort Belknap Hospital in Harlem and Eagle Child Health Station in Hayes support more than 50,000 patient visits per year, to include more than 5,700 tribal members who live on or near the reservation. The 2 weeks of support these soldiers provide help complement the heavy patient flow these facilities experience during the summer months.
You know, it's only 2 weeks a year, but it's a tremendous amount of help. I love when they come here because we are a rural area. We don't have that much help in terms of employees working in the ambulance with calls, with transfers, with also hands-on with just our training and cleaning up the place around here.
This year, medical soldiers brought nearly 50 medical professionals to help support the reservation. The soldiers were immediately welcomed to the area and received an invite to participate in the annual powwow over the weekend, marching and presenting the colors. Medical services the soldiers provided include general exams, school exams, eye exams, physicals, and eyeglass fabrication. Dental services provided included exams, x-rays, general cleaning, and extractions. Captain Emmy Thompson, a Nashville, Tennessee native supporting the 24th Medical Detachment, helped by providing optometry services.
For me, I really like optometry because you get that instant gratification of I'm helping someone see as they sit in the chair, and they can see what improvements I'm making for them. For us, we can give them a pair of glasses almost the day of. I feel like I'm helping make a significant impact not only on vision but the health of my patients.
The 7234th optometrist, Captain Tan Turan, enjoys using his skills to help others and working alongside his coworkers who are sharpening their skills during the mission.
I mean, what I love about it is the fact that I get to use my expertise to be able to help. You know, that's the reason why I joined, you know, that it's to use my expertise. So I think the enlisted, I mean, their enthusiasm is really good. So it's really, that's the number one thing. And number two is that their learning curve is really good. My assistant, she's pretty much got the job on after 2 hours.
The medical, dental, and optical services provided during these IRT missions builds mutually beneficial partnerships between U.S. communities and the DoD because the missions meet training and readiness requirements for active, Guard, and Reserve service members, while integrating them as a joint whole-of-society team to serve our American citizens. Reporting from Fort Belknap Reservation in Montana for Army Reserve Medical Command, I'm Sergeant First Class Kenny Scott.
Don't go away. Army Reserve Today will be right back.
House fires often increase during the winter. Cozy fires, holiday cooking, and decorative candles can be accidents waiting to happen. Use metal fireplace screens to prevent sparks from igniting nearby objects like furniture. Don't leave cooking pans unattended. They can and do catch fire. Also, make sure you blow out candles before going to bed. House fires. Are you ready or not?
Winter is a popular time to go on vacations, but it's also a time people try activities they rarely do or might not have done at all.
Hey buddy, this is an advanced slope. Are you sure you're ready for this?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm good. Winter sports can be great fun, but they're dangerous without proper training. Know your limits. Broken bones and bruises aren't fun. When you hit the slopes, will you be ready or not?
Winter storms can sometimes leave you snowed in for days, so it's important to be prepared. Have rock salt or other environmentally safe products to melt ice on walkways. You can also use sand to improve traction. Have a snow shovel or other snow removal equipment standing by. Store a good supply of dry, seasoned wood for your fireplace in the event you lose power. Also have adequate clothing and blankets to keep you warm. Winter storms. Are you ready or not?
I didn't sleep well the night before, so I was already pretty exhausted when I woke up for PT that morning. And I worked a full day, and my first sergeant reminded me that I had staff duty. By the time I finished, I'd worked like 27 hours. I knew that I probably shouldn't drive. I just wanted to get home, go to bed. You know those little memorials on the side of the road? I hope they put one up for me.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless and odorless gas. Leaks of CO can occur from gas stoves and water heaters, fireplaces and wooden stoves, and gas or oil space heaters. CO poisoning can cause injury or even death. Early symptoms include headaches, nausea, confusion, and fatigue. Always have carbon monoxide detectors in your house and make sure everything is properly ventilated. Carbon monoxide. Are you ready or not?
Welcome back to Army Reserve Today. It's part of our warrior ethos to never leave a fallen comrade. That's why Army Reserve soldiers recently joined active Army, Air Force, and the Marines for the 2017 Joint Mortuary Affairs exercise at Fort Pickett, Virginia. Staff Sergeant Nina Ramon with Exercise Newsday has more on how this critical training helps ensure our fallen heroes always receive the utmost honor and respect.
Army Reserve soldiers converge on Fort Pickett, Virginia, along with their counterparts from the active Army, Air Force, and Marines to conduct the 2017 Joint Mortuary Affairs exercise, an ever-growing field training that supports those service members who chose a career field many will never consider and our nation's fallen heroes. First Lieutenant Jose Santos with the 166 Regional Support Group is the exercise planning officer.
JMAX is a Joint Mortuary Affairs exercise. We call it joint because we have our brothers, the Marines and the Air Force, working with us in this exercise. JMAC's intent is to provide the Army Reserve a resilient and ready force to be ready whenever they need it. For this particular exercise, it's kind of different of last year because now we are occupying an area and actually working from the field. So we are actually in an expeditionary mode. This year is kind of different of the past years. This is one of the most respectful jobs in the Army. It's important because we are dealing with fallen heroes, our brothers. So we need to train as we fight. So we take very serious our training. But the best thing that the Army has is a soldier. So for us, we call brother in arms. So we are brothers and sisters. So when you fall in combat, we want to take you back home. So the warrior ethos. I think this is one of the most dignified MOs that you can have. And nobody wants to do this job because, it's kind of a taboo, But if you are outside the Army, you probably won't understand. But if you're in the Army, this is the kind of things that you want to have. You want to make sure that your brother in arms is really well taken care of. That's a very dignified MOS for me, and I really love it.
Mortuary affairs specialists are held to the highest standards because the nation will accept nothing less, and they conduct their jobs with the utmost respect and honor, not for themselves, but for their country. Reporting from Fort Pickett, Virginia, I am Staff Sergeant Nina Ramon.
Army Reserve drill sergeants train new recruits attending basic combat training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, as part of ECHO Mission 2017. Staff Sergeant Adam Decker from Exercise Newsday reports.
Get up. Oh, no! Come here! Just fire! Stay down there, Joseph. Fire! Fire! Fire!
Army Reserve drill sergeants from the 1st of the 321st from Lumberton, North Carolina, are training recruits in basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, as part of ECHO Mission 2017.
We came to Fort Jackson. It is one of the premier basic training stations that we have in the Army. We get a lot of soldiers coming in during this time, and so we, as the reserves, we train as drill sergeants throughout the year, and we pretty much take what we know and we come out here and we take all those extra soldiers and we use what we know from the military and then from our experience in the outside world, and we apply it and we just kind of help fulfill this mission.
The Army and the Army Reserve are two components of the same military force.
A lot of times people think you do things differently. We're all one Army. The standard's the same regardless. So when you get that knowledge base, that helps you become as a better soldier, gives you more professionalism, more experience, and it gets you to work with your counterparts. And that's what we have to continue to do, is have that good working relationship, because we're all eventually going to end up going to war at one point in time.
Why do you keep on doing that? You're on safe. No, release it. Not to release the magazine, release the...
Every new recruit to the Army, Army Reserve, and National Guard are sent to the same basic combat training installations.
I think it's important. Maybe there are privateers in here who are reservists, and maybe they're National Guard, and they might think that, hey, I'm going to have a lazy weekend once a month. But our standards are still standards, whether you're National Guard, Reserve, or active duty. The standard is still the standard.
For the Army Reserve, I am Staff Sergeant Adam Decker.
At Blackfeet Nation Indian Reservation in Montana, reserve soldiers with the 317th Engineer Construction Company helped build a road for the local area. Staff Sergeant Jason Hale from Exercise Newsday shows us how engineers use their training to gain real-world experience.
Our mission was to bring all our assets out to Browning, Montana to do a 1.44-mile road project. So in the matter of the few weeks that we've been working here, we accomplished probably 70% of the road project.
Another part to the road is our ditches. So we have to make V-ditches so they're at a 4-to-1 slope, basically meaning that the rain and snow will trickle down. We have culverts, which the rainwater and the snow will melt into and drain out, so it won't stay on the road and it won't erode it.
We've been sent anywhere from the Arctic Circle to here in Montana, and it's to help the community and to provide training for the U.S. soldiers as well. It's kind of like a win-win situation for us.
Well, I joined the Army Reserve because I wanted to still keep my civilian side. I wanted to still go to school, and the Army Reserve supplied the benefits basically, so that was a big factor. We'll do some like smaller scale operations, obviously at the reserve unit, But yeah, this is probably the best training we're going to get out here. We've got plenty of room, a lot more dirt to push. It's a lot of hands-on experience so that when we do get deployed, we have a good grasp of what we're dealing with and what we have to do in the future.
For Army Reserve engineer soldiers in Colorado, this year's annual training provided an opportunity to hone in on their skills while helping the YMCA of the Rockies. Specialist James Garvin with Exercise Newsday has more.
So right now we're doing an annual training event out here. So typically an annual training is 2 weeks long. We're currently breaking it down into 4 2-week-long rotations. Right now we've got the third rotation out here. The reason that we don't have everybody up here at once is because the YMCA does not have the facilities to basically house and feed 140 soldiers at once. So we're rotating guys through as best we can. It's a great opportunity for soldiers that aren't used to working with each other to learn how to really kind of sort those things out and still get the mission done.
Army Reserve soldiers from 994 and 409th Engineer Companies have the opportunity to cross-train within their MOS. One such soldier is Private First Class Burgess, a site leader for one of the structures being built for the YMCA of the Rockies at Snow Mountain Ranch.
I definitely want to keep this in my Army career. So as long as I'm in the military, I'd like to stick with engineering and cross-train in other things, electrical work and plumbing and everything else, just to get good at that.
The desire to perfect his craft has allowed Private Burgess to start living his dream, no matter how small it might be.
Me and my girlfriend are building a tiny house together. We've been drawing out blueprints, and so this has kind of just been practice for that. We just have really wanted to do it so that, we're not like paying rent, and so that we can travel around. We both really like traveling. And I think it'll be a really fun opportunity to just work on something like that together with our hands and get to know each other in that way. And I think it's going to be a really fun experience, just knowing that the place that we're living is something that we built and that we built together.
Teamwork is a driving force in this mutually beneficial endeavor.
The Army came to the YMCA as part of the military's Innovative Readiness Training Program, the IRT program.
YMCA, they provide all the materials, we provide all the labor and the tools and the equipment. It's a win-win because they get free labor out of it and we get excellent training value in a practical, real-world situation.
It enables us to execute projects that we otherwise could not afford. It helps us further our mission by, providing a shade shoulder here at the programs department.
The process of building these shade structures is we start with the groundwork. We start with grading and with getting the holes dug for the piers, concrete piers that go underground. Then we get the concrete truck out here, we pour those piers, we pour the pad. After that we get the posts up. After the posts we've got these large beams, they weigh thousands of pounds. We get them up there, hoisting them up with a forklift, secure them into place, and then from there we start framing the roof. We frame the rafters, we get the plywood up there, we get the metal sheeting on. Then at that point, we just stain it and mission complete.
We would never be able to contract that job out. So that's a really good fit for us and for the IRT program.
This has been really cool for us because we get to actually do some training that we were, trained in our MOS to do. So it's really good practice.
With a break from the norm and a breath of Rocky Mountain fresh air, structures aren't the only thing these Army Reserve soldiers have built.
Been having a really good time out here. Love the place. The staff has been super friendly. I really like talking to all the civilians walking around. They're always excited to see us.
From the YMCA of the Rockies in Granby, Colorado, I'm Specialist Jimmy Garvin.
And that will do it for this edition of Army Reserve Today. For more information about Army Reserve, check us out online at www.usar.army.mil. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter at U.S. Army Reserve. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and the U.S. Army Reserve Command, I'm Specialist Noelle Williams. Thanks for watching.